I have learned a new internet truth.
Oh, do tell, Matt.
Well, apparently, people hate random encounter tables.
Then tonight, we're going to show you how to do the best random encounters for your game.
That's how we roll. 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 That's how we roll.
Welcome to the Goblin's Corner. My name is Eric.
And I'm Matt.
And tonight,
We're talking about random encounters.
that's right, apparently the thing that everybody on the internet hates.
So many people.
So we're going to show you tonight on how to do random encounters right and some of the tips and tricks that we use to do our random encounters to make them fun.
Yes.
So if you haven't yet, hit the like and subscribe button. Help us get our show out to more people and get notified when amazing episodes come your way.
And if you're listening to the show, give us a review on iTunes, Podchaser, or wherever it is you listen to it.
It'll make us happy.
That's true.
It will. So Matt, we're doing random encounters tonight.
Yes.
Why are we doing random encounters? Why are we doing them right, first off?
Well, we're doing them right because they're not currently done right.
Yes. Apparently a divisive topic that you've... Matt, by the way, for those of you who don't know, scours the internet. He gets on Twitter a lot.
It's true.
Comes back sweating and pissed off. And he has found yet another divisive topic. And apparently people don't like doing random encounters.
It is a classic game mechanic that I feel like a lot of people use wrong.
They just get it wrong?
Yeah.
I would agree with that as well.
And partially because they've also been just written wrong.
Yes. And so tonight, we'll kind of write ourselves out of that little problem by showing you some tips and tricks that we have, that we've used over the last couple of years.
Yep.
Actually, more than a couple.
Many, many moons.
Many moons. They provide a lot of flavor in a story. And so we like using them if you just want to spice some things up, or maybe you're just not feeling it in terms of a storytelling aspect and you need some ideas.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a random chart every now and then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we like flavor. So give them more flavor.
And you know I love my random charts.
Matt has literally a book. He's got one of those old school trapper keepers.
That is true.
Filled, it is a trapper keeper, by the way, filled with just paper.
Now, keep in mind, it is not a new Trapper Keeper. It is an original Trapper Keeper.
I would not be surprised if you have kept that trapper keeper since you were in 6th grade.
It has my very first character in it from when I was 8.
Well, there you go. See, I was right. Finally, done well, a random encounter can be amazing for your story.
Yes, and written poorly.
It can completely devastate your story.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a TPK.
Yeah.
Just waiting to happen.
So we kind of lighted upon this a little bit. What is the problem, Matt, with random encounters that people have?
By the book, they are strictly combat, and generally, with the exception of like random gnome merchants occasionally, little else.
Which is kind of ridiculous, right?
Right.
Now, granted, D&D, we're talking about D&D in this case, is a combat game in the beginning, but it's very collaborative storytelling as well.
And there's no reason for it to be a wholly combat game. It theoretically has 3 pillars.
Yeah, doesn't have to be. You could totally add some narrative to that. I understand also that a lot of these, because they're combat, they don't drive the narrative story, which can be weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're questing for the grandiose tortoise artifact, right?
Mm-hmm.
The turquoise tortoise. You got to find the turquoise tortoise in the Badlands, and you're rocking around, and then all of a sudden, you just meet, I don't know, a bunch of werewolves out of nowhere.
Right.
And you're like, the is this?
And it's the middle of the day. What's going on here?
Yeah, there's no full moon. Why is there a werewolf here?
It's a random Tuesday.
Yeah, on a Tuesday? Werewolves don't come out on Tuesday.
No.
They're definitely weekend warriors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they come out, they party, you know. They've got they got weekday jobs.
Sure.
Working at something.
Werewolves and ties and what have you.
They're mechanics.
Sure.
They got the overalls.
Yeah.
It's great for wolfing out in.
Absolutely. That's very convenient.
Yeah, it's got a nice good airflow going. Come on, man. You got a lot of fur.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Werewolves and overalls. I'm with it.
So they don't drive the narrative is what we're getting.
They're written poorly, and oftentimes they are far too random.
Which is a bit weird and seems a bit like an oxymoron because we want randomness in a random encounter, but not too much randomness.
Right. It doesn't work when you have specific needs for your story.
And traditionally, this is because random encounters are generally based on geographic tables. We've all seen them, right? Random encounter for the ocean, random encounter for the desert, random encounter for, I don't know, Starbucks. Would be in a random encounter for a Starbucks. Probably at least 5 guys that look just like us trying to spout their podcast at someone.
I'm
People
anti-Starbucks.
and people trying to do business.
I'm Team Caribou. Love them, know them.
Yeah. So it doesn't really work when you have specific needs for a story. But you still need that random, jolt of creative inspiration.
Another thing that doesn't work with random encounter tables is that they don't provide a lot of opportunity for role-playing.
Duh. It's random.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't provide a chance to explore, which is the third pillar, right? Role-playing, combat, and exploration.
Yeah.
So unless you're fighting monsters or it is a layer-based creature, you're not going to be able to explore anything for your game with a random encounter. Except we have a way around that.
That is correct.
So how do we fix the random encounter, Matt?
Well, the first thing you do is you make some random encounter tables that provide more than just combat options.
Shocking. So let me get this straight. I'm not just going to throw a whole bunch of monsters in a random chart and say, here you go, here's your random encounter. No, give some ideas as a random encounter.
Sure.
How easy is that?
And there's a lot of benefits to making your own random encounter table.
Like what?
It can be tailored to your table.
Okay.
So if you've got a very RP-centric table, then your random encounter table may be 50% role-playing encounters and only 30% exploration and maybe only 20% combat.
DMs, what we're saying is that you can use the tables to customize it based on the story that you're telling. Now, this will take a little bit of legwork.
It's true.
You are not going to just buy these randomly from a shop. You could, actually. I'm sure someone's probably making a bunch of these. But, if you want them directly for your story and you've got a very specific campaign, then you're going to have to come up with a couple ideas on the fly. Now, this is fine. If you've listened to any of our previous episodes on writing good stories or the first game that you're running or honestly anything with storytelling in it, you should have a notebook where you jot ideas down anyway.
Sure.
Just jot some ideas down. You're in the shower, step out the shower, write those ideas down that you had.
Or just get a waterproof notebook.
Or a waterproof notebook.
I 100% have a waterproof notebook.
I'm not surprised. I just remember them and type them out later.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not how my brain works at all.
Because you can use these to fire off a lot of different interesting things. For example, side quests.
Sure. You can meet specific NPCs only through the random encounter table and then provide your PCs with an option to do things. And then your PCs either buy in or they don't.
Yep. Now, in terms of handling it, we recommend 2 options for this. The first is don't tie your encounters to geographic regions exclusively.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with the chart of, I don't know, you got your winter wolf and your yeti and other things that live in the cold, like an ice dragon.
Sure.
But you could also have literally a chart for, when the PCs go into a town, here are some storytelling options. My goodness.
Here are some events that are taking place in town.
Yeah. Is it literally that easy?
Yes. 100%.
It is literally that easy. And the second thing is what, Matt?
Consider what's going on in your world and what that means for your random encounter table. So if you've got 2 countries at war, maybe you add patrols from one country or the other as part of the random encounter table.
You can add espionage.
Sure.
Which we've done an entire episode on intrigue campaigns for.
You meet a spy on the road. You don't know they're a spy.
Yeah, but the DM knows.
Yep.
So we at the Goblin's Corner have taken your dumbass random encounters that you've seen, and we have modified them into 8 amazing different random sets.
The first one is going to be things like social events.
So what is included in that?
So maybe you've got trade going on, festivals, pilgrimages, the Dwarven Dead Party.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're talking about, go see Nonsensical Necromancy. All of these charts or these sets, by the way, are really just random encounters based off of specific things. So not just combat.
Right.
So we've got social events as one. You could also have political events as another different type of chart. That can be, as you mentioned earlier, war or alliances.
Sure.
You could do political marriages.
Yep, might be a giant party.
Might be a big-ass party. Might have a rebellion.
Yes.
Bunch of scrappy rebels going against a galactic empire.
Nope, I think you
with
switched
a
genres, but it still
Wookiee.
works.
Hey, look, it's who says you can't have random encounters in Star Wars?
Sure.
And of course, we mentioned intrigue as well. What are some other sets, Matt? What's the next one?
Natural events.
Okay, what's in that?
Something as simple as trees falling across a road.
Mm-hmm.
You might have storms, floods, wildfires, mudslides, herd migration, any migration, and the occasional pissed off druid.
So anything naturally occurring in the world. So if I'm traveling.
I love how we both agree that pissed off druids is a naturally occurring event.
Oh, yeah. You stumble across the grove. There's a druid just hanging out. He's pissed off immediately because you have now just harshed his mellow.
You've interrupted his 13-year meditation.
Yes. You're going to ask him some dumbass question, and he's going to turn a tree into a living creature to stomp your ass.
Yes. So speaking of turning things into other things,
we've got magical and supernatural events. How about that? A whole chart devoted to just strange supernatural stuff, right? So wild magic, artifacts. I mean, an artifact is definitely some weird stuff going on, right?
Absolutely.
Fading illusions, animated objects, some kind of strange spiritual activity.
Yeah.
And just weird stuff happening.
It's just random weird.
Yeah, just random weird. Absolutely. Speaking of random weird, we could, and this is technically a supernatural chart, but this is way more specific. We could also do planar specific stuff, like planar events.
Right.
So what would be something like that?
Planar conjunctions,
Mm-hmm.
confluences, random portals, incursions, like the fire plane just is like, we want this prime world.
Yeah.
It's ours now. Burn it down. Gates from pissed off wizards.
I love how we both assume that that should be definitely a planar event.
Absolutely. If you're opening gates, it's
You're a pissed off wizard.
sure.
Or if you have a gate opening up, there's going to be a pissed off wizard on the other side of it.
That's entirely possible.
Can you imagine? You're just sitting there, you open up the plane, I've entered a new world, and there's a wizard sitting there, and you're in his living room. He's just trying to watch TV.
Yeah.
And he's really mad now because it's like, what is this?
You're not even supposed to know about TV.
Yeah. How dare you? Now I must cast fireball on you repeatedly.
Finger of death.
As the Paisley magic coalesces around his hand, and you realize, oh no, it's the dreaded Hamblish the Paisley mage.
I'm diving out of the portal.
Yeah,
Y'all
absolutely.
do what you need to do.
In addition to magical and planar events, we have what kind of events, Matt?
Treasure events.
Okay, cool. What does that mean?
Maybe you stumble upon goods or ruins. It doesn't have to be treasure in the it's a box full of gold thing. It could be a rusty weapon that has a story attached to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is just finding a material object or objects.
It's some kind of thing that you can use to further the story for your own ends. We also have PC-specific events, which honestly probably should be the first thing because, let's face it, this is a storytelling game with a bunch of people.
Right.
And that can be stuff like NPCs. You can have an entire chart devoted to just NPCs.
Yep.
Very, very easy, right? You can have friends, enemies, associates, lovers, family, rivals, and just merchants, right? Shopkeepers and stuff. And then finally,
Monsters. You can always still have monsters.
still have the random encounter chart with monsters.
Yeah. It just shouldn't be an entire chart full of monsters,
Yes.
is what we're saying.
So social events, political events, natural events, magical or supernatural, planar, treasure, PC, and monsters.
Yeah.
And that's it. Very simple, right?
And that should give you a lot of room to play with.
Now you don't just have combat, and potentially they can all be combat, but now you have the means to create a whole bunch of variation in your story. And that's the important part, really. is
Absolutely.
variation. Speaking of something that's varied, we have what, Matt?
It's time for the question of the week.
All right. Is it a random encounter question?
It is. I try to stay on theme.
It's like we are on a theme every week for something.
Many random encounters include a DM choice option.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite creature type for this occasion and why?
I would say just given what I generally run in my campaigns, I tend towards having a lot of slod. So the DM's choice might be slod, but you brought something up a couple games back when we were playing that I do throw a lot of animated objects into my game.
You do, as random encounters.
It's true. So it may be that that's probably, I have this love of furniture that's gone wild, like animated furniture that just, there's a ruin that fell, but the magic that animates the furniture never went away. And so
Tarzan Country High back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and my game railed. And it just kind of, a feral chair. You imagine a sofa that just kind of lurks, pounces on people, tries to gnaw them to death with its cushions.
Rest on me!
Yeah. Yes. It will smother you to death with its comfiness. Be lovely, right? So I would say animated objects in my case.
Sure.
Now you, on the other hand, have...
If you've watched more than a couple of our shows, you're probably aware that I enjoy Fey plot lines and encounters.
Yes.
I like them because they provide the option of RP. They provide the option of combat. They reply, basically anything you want to do, you can do. And you may do it well or not, but, that's just how the dice roll.
It's very whimsical playing with Matt's game because there's always some kind of sprite or fae running around doing good and or evil stuff.
They're just doing stuff.
Yeah, it's just doing all over the place. Sometimes on your clothes. Of course, we're always interested in your answer to the question of the week. And if you have one, hit us up at Goblin's Corner on Twitter, or you can find us on the various social media channels that Matt loves to talk on.
Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can just comment down below.
It's right there.
Yep, it is.
Yes. So let's get back to the random encounters. We've spitballed 8 different categories of encounters, right? So let's kind of break those down just a bit more. Let's say you might be a beginning storyteller of various types, right? It doesn't matter what game we're playing.
Sure.
Right? Random encounters work for all games.
Right.
And, okay, I've told you that 8 different types. That's cool. I want a social events random chart. But I need some examples. Well, we've got examples for you.
It's true.
So let's go ahead and break some of these down. Let's start this off with 3 different types of encounters that pretty much can be anything.
Right.
We have what, Matt?
We've got RP encounters,
Mm-hmm.
exploration encounters,
And of course, combat
encounters.
Yep. 3 different types of encounters, 8 different charts to roll on those, right? It's either going to be an exploration, a combat, or an RP event.
Yeah.
That's it.
Simple.
Yeah, very simple. So let's get to the role-playing encounters first. What are some examples that we can maybe consider? And then we'll kind of mention off the 8 different charts we just talked about earlier, what kind of chart you might roll.
Sure. As an option, maybe the players are sought out by one of their contacts that want to either provide some more information or request something.
Yep. So you roll on the PC chart for that.
Right.
Very simple. The traveling tavern, a wagon that folds into a small bar, is spotted on the side of the road. So that could be what?
Could be a social encounter,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be a PC encounter if they've been there before.
Yep. Both of them are role-playing encounters, right?
Yep. PCs meet a purveyor of minor cursed items who is basically a magical prank vendor.
So PC, a little bit of social maybe.
Yep.
Or it could be a magical event as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Here's one. We have simple people with just simple problems that are easy for adventurers to fix. So that could be a number of different things, generally social, right?
Yeah.
So if they've got like a broken wagon wheel or their firewood needs chopping, there are a bunch of rats in their cellar. You remember the rats?
Oh, yeah.
Every like level
First
1
level module has a rats in a cellar, or
giant,
used to.
Damn giant rats in the cellar, always messing with my cheese and my wine. It's because they're snob rats. Giant snob rats. They've got a little hat on, a monocle.
They're setting out a charcuterie board.
Absolutely. How dare they? Getting into the cheese again. They get all drunk. They want to start talking politics. Anyhow, all of those are social events because they're just simple tasks that you could have. They could probably also be combat if, you're killing giant rats that are, part of the bourgeoisie. What else do we have as a role-playing encounter, Matt?
The characters are invited to a celebration.
That's just a social event.
And that's what we wrote, but thinking about it, it could also be a political event depending on what the celebration is. Like it could be a natural event if it's a fall festival or something like that.
Whole bunch of fae, maybe? That could be natural. A bunch of pissed off druids that have gathered.
Supernatural.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. A bunch of pissed off druids that have gathered. That's for an event.
Yeah. Hey, are you guys going to help us raise this town? They've been cutting into the ancient forest too much.
Yeah, that'd be a great social event. Characters stumble upon the aftermath of a battlefield. That's a very typical event, and that could be political or it could be monsters.
Sure.
And now, again, this is a role-playing event, so don't think just combat. You could encounter a whole bunch of monsters that maybe are tending to their wounded.
Yeah.
Maybe the monsters are the victims, folks.
Exactly.
That would be kind of cool.
Monsters.
Yeah.
Characters encounter a dying scout or spy or both.
Or both. Hey, political intrigue right there.
Exactly.
And that's an easy chart to roll on as well. What kind of thing do you have, right? PCs enter a town where they're hauling in the yearly fish run. So that could be a natural event, so you could roll on that chart, or some kind of social event, right?
Yeah, if they've got giant fish wheels and the people are out there drinking and partying, snatching fish off the wheel, I mean...
This could also be like a type of contest or a celebration as well. A lot of like yearly festivals and stuff are usually focused around bringing in a harvest or something like that. In fact, we did an entire episode on harvest festivals.
I mean, there are fishing competitions.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be fish. It could be hunting for caribou, dire moose. You only need one dire moose to feed an entire tribe.
It's true. And you may only be hunting for it once.
Absolutely. So those are some interesting role-playing encounters that you can use the various 8 charts, right?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about exploration encounters.
All right. Maybe, as an option, a recent storm has uncovered an old cobblestone path leading into the forest.
Ooh, that could be some sort of treasure table.
Right? I mean, you'll have to find out where it goes. It could lead to an ancient ruins, which could be combat, treasure, and social.
Absolutely. Yeah. Characters find a corpse with a marked map that marks a location nearby, or a compass with no directions that points some direction other than north. Treasure.
Sure.
That's
the hope.
X marks the spot.
Right.
Now, it could be, this is where the savvy DMs go, here's where the artifact begins to slowly corrupt the player's life.
It
is what it is.
As sun sets near the mountains, the sun at a certain angle is reflected by something large and shiny up the slopes where nothing is marked on the map.
Ooh, what is it? Could be anything, right? Could be the Tarisk.
Could be. The shiny Tarisk.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it could be a treasure event.
Yep. Could be a magical event.
Or planar.
Yeah.
Or monster.
Or monster.
Tarisk.
Yeah.
It's definitely the Tarisk.
He polished up his carapace just for this.
Yeah, it was the horn sticking up out of the mountain. And the mountain is actually the Tarisk.
It's his teeth of sharpness.
Yes, absolutely.
It's actually a toothpaste commercial.
Gling! It's so bright and shiny.
Absolutely.
You could rescue a traveler from a hidden and unknown land. Just as simple as that, right? A very easy exploration event, and you could roll on planar, political, anything else, really.
Yeah, it could also turn into an RP encounter if you...
Oh, yeah.
That leads into exploration.
So then you have 2 different events with a bunch of different charts you can roll on. You could literally make this an entire module.
Yeah.
And I think I've probably
you could start a campaign based off of this.
100%.
Speaking of unknown lands, a portal or gate, rift.
Some kind of bend in reality.
Appears in the middle of the road they're traveling on.
Ooh, so a magical event?
Sure.
Roll on the magical chart, see what happens.
Could be a planner event.
Could easily
depending on where it goes.
Does a slot pop out? Give everybody a party hat and a razor blade and exit? Could be.
Yeah. Or maybe he just smashes somebody with a mallet.
He always smashes with a mallet. Let me tell you, even when he gives you the party hat. Yeah, always keep an eye on the slot.
And just because you don't see the mallet doesn't mean it's not there.
It's invisible. It's an invisible mallet. A friend of the PCs requests a specific booze for tonight's town festivities. Social.
Sure.
Or, depending upon the booze.
Magical.
Yeah. And finally, what else do we have in terms of an exploration encounter?
Players need to get from point A to point B in less time than the road takes to get there.
Okay. Easy event. We could roll on a bunch of different charts. Political.
Yeah.
PC specific. Social.
Monsters. All sorts of things.
We're all pretty much on all of them.
Yeah.
Think about it.
And basically what you're saying is they're having to cut cross country. The road is not the straightest line. That means you got to go off-roading.
Yeah. Now, we have, finally, combat-specific encounters. And, of course, you're thinking, well, we're going to roll on the combat chart, obviously. That's the one at the end. But you will find there's a lot more stuff that you can roll even in a combat encounter as well.
Absolutely.
So first off, let's insert a couple of options that reinforce the plot or the theme of the story. So give me an example.
How about assassins are sent by the BBEG?
Okay, so that could be a political event that you could roll on.
Could be PC specific.
And of course, could be monsters.
Sure.
It's always monsters. You could have some kind of eldritch horror, right? An aberration, cultist, mutation, a slod coming through with a mallet.
Sure.
And anything like that could be planar. Roll on the planar chart.
Yep.
Or
magical.
Or magical. Obviously magical. You've got this giant tentacle that's cropping up and it's wearing a hat. And it's like, good day, sir. May I invade your body?
I said good day.
I said good day. And then it crawls down your mouth.
Yep. Bandits or people, just in desperate straits, whether they're starving or being coerced or, they're just bandits because they like the money.
Definitely a combat situation, right?
It is.
What kind of charts could we roll on for that, though? You're thinking monsters? Not necessarily.
Right. It could be political. If people are being taxed to death and they've turned to banditry because they don't have a choice, that's a political thing.
Could roll on social.
Sure.
Maybe they're hungry, they fight, and maybe you decide you can diffuse the combat. That, by the way, is always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're playing a character that's a diplomancer.
We can just make food. We have that ability.
Yeah. If you have a cleric and a druid in your party, you should never
fight hungry people.
Yes. 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, man, those kobolds, they're starving. They're going to feast on our bones. Really? I could create food and water like 4 times a day.
Right.
Just somebody, wizard, conjure us a force table.
I mean, it could be planar. Like, what if the plane of concordant opposition has become coterminous with the world and everybody's just angry and ready to fight?
Sure. Could also be a natural or a magical event.
Sure.
So you can roll on all those tables as well. Characters stumble upon a dead cultist and a freed demon.
Oops.
There's a planar event right there. Roll on the planar chart to see what kind of creature pops out.
It doesn't have to be a demon.
It could be a celestial.
Sure.
Could be a Romalni.
Yep.
I don't know if those exist in 5th anymore, but they exist in my game.
Obviously, it could be a slod.
Could be a creature from the Beastlands. That'd be a lot of fun. Or it could be a Modron.
That you have removed from his modus operandi.
He is not very happy. It is not very happy about that at all.
Hence the dead person.
That's right. This next one is really fun.
The PCs become part of the wild hunt.
You want to talk about a combat encounter, my friends? Stumble upon the wrong place and you end up as the hunt.
Yeah. Or
part of the hunters.
Part of the hunters. What if you succeeded at killing something that they were chasing? That means you beat them to the punch.
Oh, yeah. Now you got to join the hunt.
Yep.
For how long? Well, that depends on how long. It takes a while. Could be a planar event. Could be monsters. Could be natural.
Yep.
Could be some pissed off druids.
Could be.
I'm just going to throw pissed off druids in everything now. From
it works in a lot of places.
It really does. What do we have next, Matt, in terms of combat?
A portal, gate, rift, etc. appears in the middle of the road they are traveling on.
Oh, wait, we just said that earlier in terms of exploration encounters. Yes, because if it's not exploration, it's going to be combat.
Right. That means something's coming out of it instead of them going into it.
And it's pissed.
Yep.
Or it's going to be pissed when it encounters the PCs.
Or it's just something that wanted to come here to wreak havoc or mischief anyway.
Could happen. Could be magical or planar.
Sure.
Could even be something else. It could be it could even be a social event.
Could be political.
Ooh, that would be neat.
A freaking rift bomb.
Think of it like this. Maybe this would be like maybe for like a mid-level to high-level adventure. You have a bunch of PCs. They're just balling on the prime material plane, right? They're heroes of the realms.
Sure.
And now they've gotten the attention of creatures from beyond. Doesn't matter where it's from, right?
Yeah.
Name a plane.
Just beyond.
And they want to send representatives through. So they send their representatives through to maybe talk to the leaders of the realm that the PCs happen to live at. And the PCs kill them. Now you have not just an international problem, you have a multiplanar problem. Because you just killed the representatives.
It's an interplanar incident.
Yes. What a great way to get into a campaign.
Sure.
That is an awesome side story. In addition to that, you could have a territorial creature that's taken up residence near the road. As simple as that.
Yeah.
That could be a monster. It's a roll in the monster chart.
Yeah. I mean, could be an animal.
Yeah, roll in the bear chart. What kind of bear is it going to be?
A black bear.
It's going to be a black bear, brown bear, brown bear.
Any bear.
Any bear. Any bear is going to wreck your day.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd be amusing if polar bear was like 99.
Absolutely a polar bear.
It's totally a polar bear.
They actually hunt people.
Do they really?
Yeah, they will.
That's very scary. Speaking of scary, what's the last one on this combat list, Matt?
An immense ooze with countless undigested gold objects attacks.
Oh, so that you're thinking, okay, that's definitely a combat event, but what kind of event is it? What do I roll? It's a treasure event.
Yeah.
What kind of treasure is in its undigested body?
And why is it so immense?
Yes.
Why hasn't it split off?
It's eaten just adventures, nothing else. That would be awesome. So these are just a few suggestions for encounters and tables that you can use for your campaign. And the general premise with all of this is
to tailor your random encounters to your story.
And don't make them suck.
Yeah. It's really that simple.
It literally is. Use what we have. Make yourself some really interesting, fun encounters. Literally, maybe takes an hour, right? You just jot down 15, 20 ideas each.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on with your story, but if you tie in a large percentage of these encounters to your story, then they're going to make sense.
Yep, and that's it. So there you have it. 8 different ways that you can roll with 3 different types of encounters you can use for your campaign, any campaign, so that you can interject a lot more story into your game without a lot of thought.
It's a little bit of work up front for a long payoff.
That's right. Any questions or comments? Hit us up at Goblin's Corner on Twitter. Did you enjoy this program? We've got a whole bunch more random encounter tables to throw at you. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player, YouTube, and Twitch.
Click the 5 stars, give us a review on iTunes and Podchaser, and on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. It helps get our show in front of more people, and it feeds the hungry algorithm.
Which is currently rolling up with a whole bunch of paper and 50 pounds of dice to roll at me.
That sounds delightful.
It
sounds like it's DMing.
Give me the dice. That's all the time we have for tonight. Once again, my name is Eric.
And I'm Matt.
We'll see you next time.
Good night, folks.
The Goblin's Corner has been written and produced by Eric Holden
and Matt Staples.
D20 did our music.
And this is, in fact, a subterranean production.
Your voice is so low.